I'm Dan Lundwall, N7XDL. I just recently joined one of the best resources there is on the internet, the RATPAC group, and I hope, again, to live up to the standards they have set. Now, I've only been a ham radio operator for about 8 years now, and I hold a general class license. I am also the founder of the Murray Amateur Radio Club, as well as an assistant emergency coordinator for Salt Lake County Aries. With that said, I don't want everybody to start walking out of this presentation because of the newbie up here is trying to educate a veteran ham radio operator. I stand in awe at the level of expertise that must be present here in this meeting, and I know that you all could teach me a thing or two about this wonderful hobby of ours. So as not to insult anybody with my level of experience, let me first tell you what I plan on doing today. My goal is to demonstrate that building a ham radio Go Kit is a very personal decision. Although there are some basic rules that should be followed, there are no standards when it comes to Go Kits. As a matter of fact, what I'm about to tell you is widely available to anyone who simply looks. Before I started my own Go Kit build, I went to the source of all knowledge, yea, the guru of intelligence, the master of all things known and unknown, where everything is 100% correct. Yes, the internet. I attended various workshops. I've watched literally hundreds of videos on YouTube, and I realized that when it comes to Go Kits are as unique as the person making it. So based on all the material that I gathered, I set out making my own Go Kit. Before I demonstrate my build, let's discuss some fundamentals that were common in all the sources that I studied. But first, let's define what we are talking about. A Go Kit or Go Bag is an organized group of interrelated items placed in a container designed to fulfill a purpose. That just about sums it up, doesn't it? Because the very definition of a Go Kit tells us that it is designed to fulfill a purpose, we can postulate that the purpose can be as different as the person creating the Go Kit. Some people will create a Go Kit for a very specialized purpose, like my first Go Kit, for example. My purpose was to create a Go Kit that would satisfy my responsibilities as a member of the Salt Lake County Aries group and be designed so that I could provide communications 24/7 or as long as the event requires. My other Go Kit was created to grab and take with me to provide communications in a SAG vehicle. Yet another Go Kit is built just around the various HTs I have. I have an HF Go Kit to take with me on field day and similar events. There is literally no end to the kinds of Go Kits that you might build. My goals may be different than yours. You need to define the purpose of your Go Kit. If you don't have an end product in mind for a specific purpose, then it will be rather difficult in building one. You won't know when you're done. So, what is your purpose? Another way of saying this is, what is it that you are trying to accomplish? As I stated earlier, I'll be focusing on emergency communications, so let me start with that. Are you a member of a group that requires communications? There are lots of emergency communication groups. I have listed just a few here. But what about personal use? Sometimes you may want to have communications available if you go camping or if you're a member of a Jeep club. How about the ARRL field day? That's where a lot of Go Kits come out in the open. Or maybe it's just because you have a lot of equipment and you want to organize it. So within the area of emergency communications, the Go Kit that you might want to develop will need to answer two basic fundamental questions. One, you need to understand your mission. And two, you need to define how success is measured or defined. In the realm of MCOMs, my mission would then get to, let me repeat that. My mission is to get every message that I handle to its intended recipient quickly, accurately, and with minimal fuss. My success criteria is simple. Was the message delivered as it was given to me? And did the person receiving the message receive the same message? How many of you remember when you were in elementary school? Some of you, I understand, might not be able to remember that far back, but yes, Pat, you were in elementary school. And were you sat around in a circle, and did your teacher whisper in the ear of one person a very small, simple sentence, and that person then, that student would then repeat that to the next student, whisper it in the ear of the next student, and that would go along all the way until it got to the very last person in the circle. That person would then stand up and repeat the sentence that student received, and inevitably, it was completely different. As a matter of fact, it was unintelligible, bunch of non-intended sounds that were meshed together, which was completely different from the original message. That's something that I even use in my own ham radio club in demonstrating the importance of messaging, especially in emergency communications. So the underlying message here is that in order to meet my mission's goals and success criteria, I must be adequately prepared to handle my assignment so that I can keep focused on my job. Being prepared, both as in the Go Kit compartments, as well as components, as well as my environmental preparations, will enable me to focus on the job at hand. Going to an MCOMS assignment, you must take into account a number of considerations, including the current state of things as they are. Which Go Kit should I take? What radios do I need? How am I going to power my Go Kit for the duration of the assignment? What should I wear to be comfortable and safe? Do I need any PPE? Do I need to be protected from the weather or environment? How much food and water do I need to take? Do I have accurate information regarding the assignment? Do I need any specialized training or specialized equipment? How do I get to my staging area in the first place? And are there any hazardous zones to deal with on my way to my assignment? Lots of things to consider. Obviously, in order to use your Go Kit, you actually need to assemble it before the MCOMS assignment, which means now is the time to put one together if you haven't done so already. You might also think through each possible assignment that you might be faced with and plan your kit to meet this. And there's lots of different types of assignments or incident types that you might encounter. The one that is pressing here for us in Salt Lake City and the surrounding area are earthquakes. We are past due for a 7.x earthquake by decades. Incidentally, this is the reason why I started my own path in ham radio. That is, I wanted to prepare myself and others for the up-and-coming big one, because I've already been through 2 quakes measuring one a 7.5 and another one a 7.4. And let me tell you, when you start dealing with earthquakes in that realm, those are life-changing events. Another disaster that hits many states is wildfires. I know California is always plagued with major wildfires. Then we have severe winter storms. You know, it blew me away that Houston, was it Houston? That they were dealing with winter issues, a lot of issues with the cold. That's just one small example. We have flooding. That's a very real potential danger. Hurricane and tornadoes. Every time these events happen, what happens? It takes down the grid and consequently communications. Then you have, this is interesting. This is something that I always thought other parts of the world would have to deal with. You know, the third world countries had to deal with an epidemic or a pandemic. Not so. We are still dealing with the effects of COVID-19. So crazy stuff. Then we have man-made incidents like a terrorist attack or any event with mass casualties, which may include search and rescue operations. Multi-vehicle pileups are another example of a man-made incident that might require MCOMs. Then you have an aircraft accident. Remember that an airplane doesn't have to always crash at the airport. It could just as easily happen on an interstate. These type of man-made incidents can be compounded. A train derailment is another possibility that might affect other modes of transportation. And I think we just had a recent thing with a train derailment causing all kinds of havoc in Ohio. Crazy stuff. Let's not forget shipwrecks and oil spills. Now, yeah, I know, probably not going to cause a grid down event. My point here is each part of the country has their own set of unique circumstances that might take place, causing some type of disastrous event, causing emergency communications to be needed. Last but not least on my list here is a hazmat incident. That could be on the interstate. It could be from a train derailment. Again, think of the Ohio disaster. And then you have events. We talk about events all the time, or at least we should, I think, and invite everyone to try one out. I wouldn't call public service events an MCOMs issue, but here's the deal. You can definitely use the same Go Kit on these events that you would use in an actual MCOMs event. As a matter of fact, what better way to test out your Go Kits than to use them consistently during these non-emergency but critical types of events? Here in Utah, we have Utah SAG events, which include races and marathons and parades and community celebration events. Of course, you have Field Day and Get on the Air events. We've identified types of events that you might utilize your Go Kit. Now we need to briefly discuss the types of assignments where you might be called upon to serve. Depending on the assignment, might dictate the type of Go Kit you bring along, whether you will be stationary and you might be needing a base station to work from, or a field portable station, which might include working under a canopy. These might dictate the type of Go Kit to bring along and consequently to build. How about a mobile station assignment? When I work Utah SAG events, I'm just one of a couple radio operators who use a motorcycle for the event. Yes, I have a ham radio on my Goldwing, and I do the escort services on the Utah SAG events. I have a great time. It is crazy fun, and I just love talking on my ham radio for my Goldwing. Along with the event type and the assignment type, you might also have to worry about communication type or modes of communications that might be required. There's always tactical voice comms using VHF and UHF frequencies. We do that all the time. You might need to provide digital communications like VARA HF or D-Star or HF WinLink. Live video feeds are a plausible requirement. How about HF SSB or CW? You have other modes as well, including the always tried and true runner comms. When all else fails, and if your ham radio fails, then you always have your runners to do the comms. The length of time that your assignment carries may determine what you're able to bring to the table as far as serving in an MCOMs role. You need to be able to ascertain how long you might be called in for. Is it for an hour to a few hours? Or is it an overnight event? If it is something longer than a few hours, then you will probably need to bring supporting kits in addition to your radio Go Kit. And here's a good example of a 24-hour short-term Go Kit, which includes, in this case, the HT comms equipment, as well as items to make your stay more enjoyable. Then there are events which might be for a longer duration, greater than 72 hours, in which case having a 72 or 96-hour Go Kit ready to go in a compartmentalized duffel bag might be just the thing. Here are a few things that you need to be cognizant of. Your assignment location may be without power, heat, water, and phone service. Most businesses in the area will not be open. You must provide your own equipment and personal gear. You are responsible for your own safety, welfare, and comfort. So plan accordingly. As a matter of fact, you most likely will not be housed at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, but probably in a parking lot or a field that hasn't experienced huge amounts of chaos, including debris damage and safety factors. So, like I said, plan accordingly. So, what are my goals of operating? What are my goals that I need to satisfy? Well, for me, it needs to be easily deployable. I need to be able to get on the air quickly. I need to be able to stay on the air. I need to be an effective communicator. And I want to have fun. Now, in the real event, you're probably not going to have tons of fun, but I put having fun here because that's what you should have when you're running your drills and practice sessions before the actual emergency takes place. Now, when I create a Go Kit, I want to follow some guidelines that help me accomplish my goals. These guidelines are contained in this field expedient equipment section, which again is a method you might consider when creating your own Go Kit. The first thing that you need to consider is the modularity. Do you need everything in your bag? Maybe. Another option is to take smaller kits that you've built depending on the occasion. And I think I've already showed a lot of options as to different examples of modular kits. Then you have to worry about how portable it is. Depending on how modular you created your Go Kit will drive how portable it is. What do you have to transport the kit? Is it a wheelbarrow, backpack, duffel bag, etc.? Have you tested and tried each piece in your component in your Go Kit, all the components in your Go Kit? Now's the time to find out if something doesn't work. Go outside or in another room with your kit and take everything out that you think you need. How many times did you have to go back indoors to get something? And then there's the organization piece. The more organized you are, the more efficient you will be out in the field. Do you have an inventory sheet in your Go Kit? Last but not least is your Go Kit understood? In other words, do you understand your equipment, its capabilities, what it can't do, what it can do? You need to know how it works. How do you configure new repeaters? What menu items do you need to understand? Do you have cheat sheets? Do you have mini manuals for each component? Do you have a printed sheet of your channels? And I'm going to show you a laminated mini sheet that I use in a few slides that I use in all of my kits. So I'm going to quickly go through a bunch of these slides here because all of these slides you'll be able to download. But I want to get to some more important things here. In this section here, I talked about the modularity. I do a little bit more examples on different types of modular kits. And here's an example of what's inside that 72-hour kit. That guy did a fantastic job of creating that. And I'm actually building one of these myself. And then we talked about the portable, how portable it is. Some kits are just a small fanny pack. And I saw this picture on the internet and I had to share it. Some of us have bellies that already look like that. But if you don't, you can buy one yourself and put your Go Kit in there. Then you have the Pelican type cases when your Go Kits are slightly more when a backpack or when a fanny pack won't work. Then you have a dolly. I know someone who uses a large dolly to carry his Go Kit around. His Go Kit weighs about 400 pounds. And then you have a vehicle. I personally don't have a dedicated vehicle for a Go Kit, but when field day comes around, that's what my car looks like. So you have all of these field expedient. Is your Go Kit field expedient? In other words, can you have it out into the field? Is it organized? Here's talking about the waste pack. Can you find what you need? Here's just a couple of examples of that. And then last but not least, oh, incidentally, one of the other things about the organization, one of the reasons why I like to have an inventory sheet is when I am done with the event, whether the event was 3 hours long or 2 days long or 2 weeks long, I want to be able to make sure I got everything back into my Go Kit so I don't leave anything behind. So that's another reason why you want an inventory sheet. And so the last part was, is your Go Kit understood? And I mentioned having a laminate copy of all of your channels in your Go Kit. And this is what I have in all of mine. Every single radio, I laminate the channels and frequencies. So it's very easy for me to go from one frequency to the next. And for that matter, how about your ID and ham radio license? That should also be laminated. So here's a sample outline for a go bag, a handheld. You have your radio, which includes the power, your battery, accessories, and antenna, something to recharge it, and various other tools that you need for that. Here's a sample inventory of an HF Go Kit. Here's a Baofeng option. There's a Yaesu option here. All of these, this list will be downloadable, so don't worry about it. You'll be able to have it in your hand. So here's some sample Go Kits that I looked through before I built my own. And I really liked how things are, how each of these people have done it. And each one of these allowed me to say, hey, I like that idea. I'm going to incorporate that. And, you know, a lot of these, even the simple Go Kits, there's some ingenious stuff going on here. And I just really like that. And don't forget your HTs. I bet you I'm not the only one that has a dozen HTs floating around. Put them in a Go Kit. Here's my first mobile SAG Go Kit that I take with me in a vehicle. Very simple. Couple of 7.2 amp hour batteries underneath there, and it's all self-contained and works like a charm. Here's one of a friend of mine who lives just down the street from me. There's another gentleman who we go way back when, and that's his Go Kit. I like Jerry's. I like how professional that looks. It has a wow factor to it. Here is my Salt Lake County Aries Go Kit. And the question that I get asked most often is, how did you plan it out to make it all fit? And so this is probably the nitty-gritty part of this presentation. How do you make it all work? For me, I use CAD, computer-aided design. I've been running CAD for all my professional career. So I like to measure twice and cut once. And here's the electrical schematics for it. Here's what it looks like. All of those schematics are underneath that, within that kit right there. Here's the electrical schematics inside the radio. Even the radio shelf, I've detailed everything, all the holes, the bolt placement on the panels that I used. I put on CAD first. So it was very easy for me to then go ahead and make cardboard cutouts to verify that my placement was correct. And voila, I put everything together, and there you have it. And I noticed that there are some Go Kits that have the antenna connection on the inside. And I didn't really like that because in inclement weather, I want to be able to close my case lid, and I didn't want my antenna in the way. So I weatherproofed it on the outside. And so that's why I have my 220, that QIT, that is really an Alinco 220 radio. And then my Yaesu FT 100 dual bander. What happens if you don't have CAD? Well, how about Microsoft Visio? I did my HF Go Kit using Visio, and you can do everything you can in CAD in Visio. What happens if you don't have Visio? Well, there's a lot of online free CAD utilities, Visio type of utilities that you can use. I strongly suggest you plan it out on paper before you actually take a saw to anything. And here's what it looks like on the inside. For me, I like to hot glue all my wires to keep things still, and it not only keeps the wires from becoming a mess, but it looks cool too. And there's a detail of my antenna, my coax. So now it's your turn. There are 7 simple steps that you can take to get your first Go Kit made. 1, you need to first start out simple. Use the KISS method, especially if this is your first Go Kit. Use what you already have lying around. It doesn't have to be expensive. Ask for guidance from people who have already made their Go Kits. Clubs are a great resource for that. Think outside the box. Be creative in making your kit with what you have. An example is I wanted to use a single power box to power all of my Go Kits. You know, like the ring that ruled them all. That was what I wanted my Go Kits to do. And all of my Go Kits share that power box. Don't be afraid to steal ideas from other Go Kits. Heck, I do that all the time. I think that's valid to do in the ham radio world. And for goodness sakes, this is your Go Kit. So don't compare yours to another Go Kit, okay? Remember, your kit is based on your needs and not someone else's. And again, I've kind of said this before, you want to have fun doing that, because heck, if you're not having fun, then what's the point? So a couple of resources to take away. You can go to Facebook and do a search for Ham Radio Go Kits. There's lots of things there. Probably the best thing to do is join a club. Tons of YouTube videos. You can always contact me, email me with any questions you have. I'm always open for questions, and I'm never too busy to help you out. Thank you very much. And I guess I can entertain questions. So let me go ahead and stop sharing.
Helps if I unmute myself. That's pretty good. Thanks, Dan. That's well done. Barry, what have we got in chat?
Just one good question in chat. How do you handle your equipment when you have to leave your post, but the equipment is still being used by others?
Okay, so I mean, if people are using my equipment, I don't. What I do, because all of my Go Kits are in like a Apache case, I do sometimes will have it locked to the table that I bring, just to keep the amateurs honest. But I'm really not. I don't really understand your question. Could you kind of rephrase it?
Jed, do you want to come on and ask your question directly?
Oh, was this on the text?
On the chat, yeah.
Okay.
It's from N6JEZ from California.
Okay, how do you handle your equipment when you have to leave your post, but the equipment is still being used by others? So do you trust the others that's using your equipment? If you do, then I don't see a problem. If you don't, I don't leave my post. I mean, the last time okay, so here, every year we have the Salt Flats 100. It's a 100-mile run in the Salt Flats. Now, why would anybody do that? I have no idea, but it turns out there are people that do that. I work the first aid station and the last aid station. Last year, I worked 56 hours straight without any sleep time at all. And think about that, 56 hours. That's a lot of hours staying up. But I do it. Pat can tell you, he knows me. That's just the type of person I am. I like to do stuff like that. So I don't have a problem staying there with my equipment all the time. Not everybody's like me. I get it. Thank goodness, right? Sometimes you want to get some shut eye. Well, if you trust the people around you, which, if you don't, then I'm not, don't know why you would be there in the first place. Most events there's enough people around with your buddies, they watch out after your equipment. Maybe I'm getting the wrong vibe from that question, but I don't worry about it.
Okay.
Well, do you put IDs or anything on your case or your equipment, like burn a social security number or something in there to prove that it's your equipment?
Oh yeah. I have that on every piece of equipment that I have. It's very obvious that it's N7XDL's equipment. Everybody knows it, and that's on all pieces of the equipment. I have everything inventoried and documented. That's part of having an inventory sheet, right? So I know what's there. So yes, absolutely. You need to have all of your equipment identified. And I not only put it on, like my HTs, I not only have it on the outside of the battery, and if you take the battery off, I have my name and call sign and phone number on the inside, right on the radio itself. So
I think that's what he was asking. So yeah, that's important if you're going to be in a large deployment, to be able to self-identify your stuff as yours in case it gets taken away or mixed up or somehow. You'll be able to identify it.
Yep. Okay, other questions? One person says, I template everything using quarter poster board. Easy to cut and mark up. That's a great, I use cardboard. The poster board is a fantastic idea. So that's awesome.
Scott, you got your hand up. Do you want to take the floor for a moment?
Yeah, so I can definitely chime in on a couple things. So on Jed's comment, I've abandoned equipment in place. When I've been in other states on deployments, I've left connectors. I had a FirstNet cradle point that I had to leave for the incoming team. That was mine. That's a several $1,000 piece of equipment. So yeah, it's the stark reality of, if your connector is holding the antenna system together, it just became part of the incident. And I've had to do this numerous times. And talking about handhelds, keep in mind, make sure your handheld is type accepted. Like Bofang, Wolfsongs, BTEC radios, you show up in a incident camp here in California and the COML sees it. You have two options: either put it away or get it taken away. They are not allowed because of their they have backsplatter across the spectrum, and it will create interference with public safety radios.
That's one of the big issues that I have always had, and I've been preaching this for years now in Salt Lake County Aries. There's a lot of people that have those radios, and I personally, Pat can tell you, Pat was my boss when I was at EC. I told him I do not want anybody with Baofangs doing an official event because they're unreliable, and you have that frequency splatter, and I don't want it to be involved with other things, and that's a hard sell to do. So I'm glad that there are organizations that do enforce that. Here in Utah, it's not that big of a deal for my vibes, but that's definitely good to know. And I do tell people that there's a possibility that if you don't have a type accepted radio, then you'll be invited to not participate.
It's gotten to the point where people have been invited to leave because they failed to put away their radios.
And I think that's more location centric. Some locations don't really care. Yours obviously does. So obviously it's important to know. That's why part of the presentation is what equipment do I need to bring? What equipment should I bring? Right? That's the first question that I ask. What type of event is it, and what equipment will I use to do that? I'll guarantee you, when I'm out in the field, I have those Baofeng radios in my HT case in case somebody needs to borrow it, but they're not going to borrow my Yaesu radio. Sorry.
Absolutely. The one last thing, great
Yeah.
presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Being on several nationwide deployments, medication and have money in your Go Kit, because like you said, there may not be access to an ATM machine or to be able to use a credit card, and having a stash of cash in your go bag is really imperative. And I have found that to be a huge win when going into disaster-ridden areas and having medication.
I'm glad you said that, because I actually have a note in one of my earlier presentations that actually told me to include that, and I failed to include that in this presentation. So yes, obviously having cash, as well as, you're gonna know that yourself. If you're on meds and if you go out and you're deployed and you don't have your meds, shame on you.
Oh, absolutely. Or you run out. I've seen it happen, or they get lost.
Yeah.
I have parted from my bag on deployments, and I've only had my small bag with me because we were told to leave it here and we'd be back. And well, guess what? We never came back.
Yeah, there are those.
Thank you.
Carolyn, yeah, you're welcome. Carolyn, you have a question?
Yeah, I just also should include a first aid kit in your go bag. At least I would, because you never know what's going to happen while you're out in the field, and you should be able to treat yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. One of the things that I always carry with me, I'm a retired EMT. I keep my trauma kit with me at all times, and especially when I'm deployed. So absolutely. And if you don't know first aid, learn first aid.
Yes.
My goodness. Stop the bleed. Get the necessary, the basic stuff, CPR, and stop the bleed.
Yep, I'm a stop the bleed instructor.
Fantastic.
I keep my trauma kit everywhere I go.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, Barry, how are we doing in chat? Barry.
Okay, from Gene, battery box, ammo can, yes or no for Go Kits?
Say again?
Using a battery box, like an ammo can, yes or no for a Go Kit?
Sure.
Okay.
That
And what are your thoughts on having meters in your kit?
I have meters in my kit, but I always put a switch in there because I don't want the meter to constantly drain my battery. So when I want to know what the voltage is, I actually have a push button that will complete the circuit. So meters are obviously a good thing.
Okay. And for cash, Doug says small bills. You don't want to bring hundreds, just small bills. And include the Nighthawk as part of your papers. It's always good to have.
Yep, absolutely. And yes, all of my power supplies are in separate box, with the exception of that one Go Kit, my first Go Kit, that SAG vehicle Go Kit, that has a couple of batteries underneath. That's the only Go Kit that I have that I do not use that external battery. And allows me, one of the reasons why I did that is it allows me to upgrade the battery system without having to discombobulate my Go Kits, where my radios are at. An inexpensive voltmeter and connector adapters are also very good. Those are in the I kind of brushed over a few slides because of time constraints, but those auxiliary things, your tools, things that you need to keep it up, adapters, always keep with you, dongles, extra coax. I mean, the list goes on and on. Whatever you can take with you in my opinion, this is why I have a trailer when I go to field day. I'd rather have it than not, and not need it than need it and not have it. That's kind of how I roll, and so my Go kits reflect that.
Okay. How we
Good
doing?
comment about from Doug. If you have to fly to a deployed location, know the limits on what battery size you can fly with. Government airlift isn't as restrictive as commercial.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the limit currently is 100 watt hours, which basically translates to an 8 amp hour battery. You can have up to 2 of them. They have to be in your carry-on.
That's the voice of experience, right, Marty?
Yep. Took 2 of them up to Alaska remote cabin, and no problem. They didn't have a problem with it. But we make sure that they're appropriately sized.
There is a higher limit, but it's got to be cleared by the individual airline. I thought it was 160, but not sure.
That could be.
Yep.
Okay. I think we're, well, wait a minute here.
One
Carolyn,
more. Robert wanted to know about the AC/DC converters in a kit, but battery and keeping batteries separate.
Yeah, well, someone else asked about power supplies separate, but your answer really talked more about batteries. My thinking is you probably, I would include a power supply, the AC to DC power supply in the kit with the radio, but tend to keep batteries separate.
Sure, there's no reason why that won't work. As a matter of fact, my HF radio has the power supply in there that'll run on either the battery or the power supply or the solar panel, right? So lots of variations. I do not put a power supply with my VHF, UHF radios because with my battery, I can run that 24/7 without even touching the having to recharge it. On long deployments, I'll bring my generator. That could be an issue that you need to worry about. You may not have an electrical connection. The grid could be down, so having that power supply will do you no good, right? Unless you're using an inverter. But then why would you do that?
No, you wouldn't. Yeah.
okay.
Obviously, solar panels is what I bring with me in all my deployments, and you need the proper thing for that as well. Any other questions? If you want to ensure your drop kit or shock mounted types.
Carolyn's got her hand up again.
Yeah, I have my hand up again. My question was about taking batteries on the airplane. Are you're allowed to take a power supply? Like I have a 500 watt solar power supply, solar generator. It's a small one.
Okay, solar generators is different. They may not allow you. You need to talk to the airline.
Oh.
Because that contains probably a lithium iron phosphate battery.
Yeah. I've seen some comments on the Parks on the Air group about flying with lithium ferrous phosphates, their batteries alone. There seems to be a size limit on them. I think it's either 12 or 18 amp hours, but it's something to look into. And you generally have to carry them in your carry-on.
Yeah, before I would even consider leaving my house with any battery, make sure you talk to the airlines that you're flying on, and probably also TSA before you get into your vehicle.
Know what you go to get into before you get in.
Yes, exactly.
Scott, you got your hand up?
Yeah, some of the other things that I carry is a lineman's phone, and I carry some analog phones and 66 blocks. And I can build a ring down circuit and tie phones in real fast, even if there's no phone service.
I've never thought about bringing my butt set with me. Okay.
No, it's been effective. I mean, if you're in an austere environment, you can walk up to a setup and see if there's a service, and you can. There might be a phone service there. If not, like I said, a 66 block, some Cat 5 cable, and a 9-volt battery. You build a ring down circuit, and you can stretch 300, 400 feet of cable, and put analog phones in it.
Right. Exactly. Excellent.
Okay, Tom, you got your hand up.
Yes, sir. It's worth checking with TSA every month or so because they're on the verge of clearing the lithium ferrophosphate up to a much larger size because it's been demonstrated to them that they're very ignition resistant. And that's what they're afraid of with lithium. And they're deathly afraid of lithium polymer because they have such a record of self-ignition when charging and stuff. So check back, because I'm told by them that they're on the verge of approving them in somewhat larger sizes. I don't know what the upper limit will be.
Of course, it goes back to, but it's better to check. I don't care where they at. If you're going to do that, check before you go so you know what you're getting into. We got a couple hands up. I want to go over to the chat and see if we got anything going on there. Barry, how we doing?
There was a question about radiators, but I don't understand it, so I think I'm going to pass on that one. Otherwise than that, we're up to date.
Okay, Dan, do you see the question on radiators? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think this person is in the wrong Zoom meeting. I'm just being honest.
No, sir. That was a real question, Dan.
Okay. So could you explain yourself, please?
Shut up, Mike.
I'm sorry, I muted you by mistake there. Zoom user, would you please rename yourself, your name and call sign, please?
We didn't take it serious because the instructions were to put your name to identify yourself.
Excuse
This
me.
is Mike.
Okay,
Excuse me, sir. Can I just get a
please put something in chat or hold your hand up to speak. We don't want to free for all here. Okay, Carolyn, you want to come on again?
Yeah, does that apply to handheld radios also? You're not allowed to take on a plane?
I have taken dozens of HTs on the plane, and all I get is a quizzical kind of a look from TSA, ask me what that is, and I always tell them, you wouldn't understand it if I told you, and they go, okay. Then they let me on. I've never had a problem, but those batteries are so small.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, Dennis, you want to take it away, please? Dennis?
hello? Can I just get like an overview of like what we're talking about? I joined a little late.
Oh, well, you might have to wait and watch the video afterwards.
Okay. Well, that's okay. I was
You
just
should have joined earlier. You should have joined earlier.
In one sentence,
Rookie mistake. That's a good one.
one sentence,
Okay, Dan, I just muted everybody. We got people jumping in here.
okay.
Please either hold your hand up or put something in chat. Don't just.
Yep, my bad.
Barry, you want to get on top of that one?
All set.
Okay, Zoom user, again, would you please rename yourself to your name and call sign, please? Bill, you want to come on and talk to us?
I just want to mute real quick. Yeah, I'm an airline pilot. So you're talking about the airlines, just to make sure you understand. The lithium battery problem is a fire hazard. And the reason why we ask them to go into the flight deck or into the cabin is we actually have ways of containing lithium batteries, but those bags are only so big. And that's the problem. You know, you're talking about the bigger we just can't keep large bags hanging around to prevent them from going on fire. When we're talking about a handheld radio or something like that, it's you know, you can take a small radio with you, especially when it's just normal batteries. That's not a problem. When we start talking about the batteries that we kind of use for ham radio, that becomes a huge issue. And you just really have to talk to the airline and you have to talk to TSA, because those are the guys who are going to control it. And like what's been said, walking up there without having prior knowledge is a great way just to find yourself not even getting on the airplane. So I just wanted to let you to know that it really is a fire hazard and they're really concerned about it.
I might ask a question here. If a person brought their own bag, checked ahead of time, but if you've got permission, would you be able to, you brought your own bag, there's certified bags for that, and I'm sure you know that's what you're using. Would that be a problem? And would you take them up forward with it?
Well, the problem with that is that, you know, the airlines and the TSA and the FAA, because now you're talking about every alphabet soup agency. I mean, they haven't really, this whole lithium thing is relatively new. So you bring a bag and it can say it's certified. And I guarantee you that the airlines are going to sit there and say, but it's not certified by us. And that's really what it comes down to, because the bags we have on the aircraft have been approved by the FAA. They've been approved by the lawyers. Everybody's on board that those bags will do the job. Not to say that your bag wouldn't be the best bag in the world. It's just, it hasn't been approved.
That's totally understandable. It makes it that before I asked it. Okay, I don't see more hands up. How are we doing in chat?
We're good in chat.
Okay, Scott, you should put your hand up. It's your fault. Go ahead.
Hey, Dan, what are your thoughts on clamshells? And if I'm using a term you don't understand, I will explain it.
Well, I'm assuming it's a lidded device.
So what I'm referring to, I guess we call them clamshells in emergency services. These allow us to run alkaline batteries in our HT radios. So a lot of companies will make battery packs that you can put alkaline batteries in. That way you don't have to carry your charger with you.
The only problem with that, I think it's a great way for receive operations, but if most radios, when you use AA batteries, whatever batteries that are built for that clamshell, you only get a very small portion of transmit capability. So I will never use that for being deployed. I have multiple batteries instead, or I have ways to recharge my batteries. I've seen them in real life where, you know, your 5-watt radio is now a 1/2-watt radio. And they alkalines, they are good until they're not good. You know, they're not like lithium where they drop down in a hurry. They slowly go down, and your HT is very sensitive to that.
You're right. And with some of these battery packs, you can run alkaline AA cells in them. And I'm just curious because
great for receive. If your purpose is to receive traffic and stuff, yeah, that's great. But I would never rely on that. I would not rely on that being your primary source of power when you're deployed on an MCOMS event.
Thank you.
Okay, Tom, let's pick you up.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to point out that all the things he just said about the clamshells are correct. Most radios have dropped their power and so forth, but I found a dodge around that. I carry a 8-cell holder for D cells with the necessary connector on it for the radio, because one thing you will always find in the FEMA supply chain without fail is D cells. It's a miracle if they have AAA, it's hit and miss whether they have AA, but they'll have D cells like they're, coming out their ears. So with that 8-pack of D cells, it's 12 volts. And the radio I happen to be using, if it sees 12 volts, it'll put out its full 5 every time. So I just hook that into the auxiliary input and get by that way. Worth a thought. That's all. Thanks.
Great option.
Okay, Barry, how we doing?
We're up to date in chat.
Okay, are there any more questions? Hands up. All right, I want to open this up. You got any comments out there?
Thank everybody for coming. We had over 60 people tonight.
You did. It was a great presentation, a good turnout. I really appreciate that, everybody. I might comment while I got the floor here. As most of you know, but some of you may not, after I close out the Zoom meeting we're having our presentation with, I leave it open. So you can just log back in like you got in here in the first place and chit chat with everybody, share, have a good time talking to each other, eyeball it, so to speak. Okay, I don't see any hands up. Barry says it's good in chat. I'm going to ask again see if we got any comments out there.
This has really been great. This is Gene, N3XUS. I am into MCOM very much at the local and state level, and I am constantly trying to come up with various types of go kits, go bags, whatever you want to call them. And this was very helpful information. I appreciate the subject matter experts and all the other comments.
Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, I have to ditto. What can I say? For those you don't know it, Dan is a new member of the RATPAC team. He's on our planning board, and we had his first meeting with us last Tuesday, and right off the bat, he jumped in there and volunteered to do this particular presentation. Thank you, Dan. That was a good one.
Yes, that was a good one. Dan, what about you said you were going to make your slides available to us?
Yes, I am going to email them to Eric. Apparently I emailed them to the wrong person. Hint, hint, Anthony.
Well, no, that's okay. I think you send them to Anthony, and if he's got them, they'll do the same thing. What's going to happen, folks, is once we put this on YouTube and other social media, there will be a link to the document. You can download everything that is in written form, including the chat session tonight.
Okay, thank you. Great session.
It really was. It's good to see you.
Thanks for coming.
I haven't seen you for a while, Carolyn. You've been hiding out.
Yeah, I've been hiding. I just recently got a 991 Alpha radio.
Oh man.
Yeah, but I'm learning it. It's quite a learning curve for me. So and I don't even have my antenna set up yet. Some guys are supposed to come help me set it up. So, but in the meantime, I'm just trying to learn all the menus and whatnot. So that's what I've been doing.
So, Carolyn, I generally don't do this, but because you and I are best pals now, I am willing to have you send me your 991A.
Oh, right, sure.
And I will be happy to learn it for you, okay?
I'm afraid that won't help me a bit.
Oh, okay, fine.
Well, you have to.
Good try.
He's a very generous person.
It's the least I could do.
Okay, well, it's the top of the hour. This has been sometimes we go over, as you all know, but looks like we're going to wrap it up in time here so we can close it out. Again, come back in, chit chat with everybody, have a good time. And I want to say 73s, everybody. Thanks for coming.
See you tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow night. Same time, same place, same channel.
Okay, Batman. We'll see you.